Yeah, flowers, nothing exciting right around me right now. But Billy, I do know a spot here on the airstrip where there are some. In fact, Billy, I've got your flowers just for you. Lots of impalas, which I'm sorry, I'm going to chase the impalas a little bit to go and get Billy's flower. So hold on, Billy, I'm going to go get a flower. You watch the impalas so long while I go get the flower and enjoy those. I might be quiet for a little bit, so enjoy the impalas and the sunset. And I'm going to walk over here to get the flower that Billy wants to see. Sorry, impalas, I didn't mean to scare you. But the impalas are shouting at me, so if you're wondering why they're alarm calling, that's because of me, and they're running the wrong way because they're about to run straight towards Tingana and Nsuku. Good, Fergus. We have flower. We have succeeded in our operation. Now I need to just plug myself in so that I can talk to Rebecca, otherwise she's going to shout at me, and we don't want to be shouted at all. Good. Right, Billy. You wanted a flower, so I've got you the flower that I can find, the closest one that is in this area, and it is a very, very, very pretty flower. You can see it is a nice little pink flower, Billy, so not very nice with the tire behind it. I do apologize, but hopefully Fergus can blur that out and we'll just have a nice dark background for our beautiful pink flower. Now this pink flower belongs to what is called a devil thorn. Now devil thorn doesn't have a really pretty name, does it, Billy? It's not as pretty as you would think. So you want it on there, Fergus?
Maybe it's up to shake, man.
Oh, Fergus, you're asking a lot because it's going to shake in the wind, but I'll try. There we go. I don't think it's going to work. Okay, Fergus, well, like I say, it's going to blow over. And the reason why it's going to blow over, Billy, is because the name that it's been given is because of this right here. So let me get rid of this in the front. That is a seed pod for the devil thorn. And so it's gotten the name because of the two little points on top that look like a devil's horn. So let me turn it for you so you can see what I'm talking about. There we go. You see? It's got two little horns on top, and so that's where it gets its name from. Now, this plant grows often on the edges of roads and runways, of like an airstrip, and any area that's been disturbed heavily by a lot of animals. And so it creates a ground cover and is very common in these kind of areas. But this plant is absolutely amazing, Billy. It's one of my favorite plants for a couple of reasons. The first thing is that this plant is very cool to use out here in the bush. So we've got a number of plants that are medicinal or have some sort of use that we can do something with, Billy. And this one I'm going to show you has a very, very cool thing that you can do. Now I need my water bottle for this because I need to make it wet before I can do anything else. So I've got to just hold it out there. Let's sprinkle some water on there. There we go, a little bit of water. Now cold water is not ideal because it makes the hands cold, but a little bit of warm water would be absolutely perfect, Billy. Nice bit of warm water is what you need for this plant. And so what you'll do is you'll wet it like that, and then you're going to take it and you make sure that there's no thorns on it, Billy, because otherwise you're going to hurt yourself. And then you rub it together, right? And you keep rubbing and you rub and you rub and you rub and you rub and you keep rubbing like this. And what's going to happen is it's going to start going very, very slimy, and it's going to get a little bit of slime on it. Can you see the slime there? Like if I open my fingers, you can actually see a little bit of it on that area. So this is all slimy because this plant is a natural soap or shampoo. So if I was dirty, Billy, I would take this and I would rub it and I'd be able to get myself nice and clean. What they also use this for is because it makes this slime, you can take it and you can rub it on your arm and like this, and it creates a barrier on your arm from the sun, and so it can also be used as a type of sun cream, which is very, very cool. So the devil thorn, even though it's got a nasty thorn on it, it is very useful for all of us. Now some people out here, Billy, who are not very nice people at all, they also used to use this plant for something a little more evil. And what they used to do is they used to take this pod here and they would take this little thorn and they would put it on the step of someone that they didn't like or someone that they wanted to murder, and they would put it on the step and they would put poison on these little thorns on the front, and the person would step out of their room and they would step on this and it would go into their hand or into their foot, and that would poison them and they could die from it. So it was a way that they used to kill people way back when. It's a very sinister thing to do, but that's what they used to do with it, which is pretty crazy. So it's a very useful plant. Even though it has a very pretty flower, it can be used for both good and bad things. So that's why I like this plant. It's got lots of different things it can be used for. But there we go. There's a flower for you, Billy. I hope you enjoyed it. It's nice always to see flowers, and hopefully we're going to get a lot more flowers over the next few weeks because of the rain. Right. Let's get rid of this. Did you say X-tills or X-kills, Rebecca? I'm going to think about this now because I can't really hear very well. F-till, there we go. Okay, sorry, Rebecca. My hearing's not very good, as coupled with the fact that Jigger has not the best comms at Chitwa, makes for these mistakes. So I do apologize, F-till. But you want to know about carnivorous plants and whether or not we get any like the Venus flytrap. Not that I know about here in the Sabi sands, so we don't have any plants that are actually capturing insects and digesting them. We don't have any of those kind of things out here. We have, I think, far too many insects that live on most of our plants that do that already. So the plants would probably lose out more than anything else. But not that I know of, no, unfortunately. It would be really cool if we had an African version of like a trumpeter flower or a Venus flytrap. I think that'd be very cool. Right. Let's throw that away. And right, Billy, you are probably an absolute champion, because Billy says thanks for the flower, and here is a leopard in return, and he sent me a little leopard emoji on Twitter. So thank you, Billy, that's very kind of you. Hopefully we will get another leopard for not only me but for all of you as well, and I'm glad you enjoyed the flower. I will look out for more, Billy, so don't go anywhere. I'll try and see if I can find some more flowers while we kind of meander about Chitwa. I'm sure there are some. I'm going to look for a flower that is very similar to, well, it's got the same name as the animal that Ali's got. So while I try and find that flower, let's send you back to Ali and you can see what animal she has.
Well, she's definitely not gone back to sleep after the Franklin woke her up, and she's been soft content calling still. Now, I'm tempted to go and look around in the direction where she's looking in, but I'm afraid that if we leave her, and we might not find her again, so it's a bit of a tricky one. I do know that one of the other vehicles has gone all the way up north and just wants to check around, so hopefully if they find anything, they will let us know. Also, I'm a bit hesitant of leaving her, because if she does come across the lions, and the greeting ceremony in a pride once they find each other and they haven't seen each other for a while is very, very special. I love it when they start and they see each other and there's almost a hesitation in the beginning. Is this somebody I know? Should I run away? And then how they just rub their heads and start making calls and become almost a little bit playful. Definitely actively searching for all your pride. I wish they would answer. Yeah, they're not being that nice to you, are they? I think you are looking in the wrong direction, though. Perhaps if you roar a little bit louder? Maybe not too much energy yet. We all know that you can roar louder than that. Perhaps she won't be able to roar as loud as one of the males, but definitely can go a couple decibels higher than what she's doing now. So it's interesting. It keeps me wondering as to why she's making soft contact calls like that. So it's either because she doesn't want to give her position away too much, she doesn't want to actively advertise that she's here, or perhaps she believes that the rest of the pride is not that far. Obviously, there's communication clues that are left behind when animals go by that are pretty much impossible for us humans to detect. And these are the olfactory pheromones and things that are up in the air, but as well any other, what's the word for it, any other sounds, any other noises. Perhaps lions are replying far away and she can just almost hear a faint call. Alright, seems like we've got some elephants that might be entering the scene. We've been very lucky with interspecies in the last few days. Now she's definitely looking at them and they're straight ahead of us. And they're almost coming this way, and it's a mother and a youngster about 4 months old. Now you see she's raised her trunk. She can definitely smell the lioness. She knows she's here, but I think she's just going to try and avoid her. Yeah, Well, if you wanted to go unnoticed, that didn't help. Now the elephants are both listening in this direction. They know there's a lion here. Very alert. You see how her ears are all perked like that? Welcome everyone. We are coming to you all the way from South Africa. We're in the Greater Kruger National Park. We are watching a small herd of elephants. It's just in front of us. My name is Ali and Senzo is on camera with me today, but we want to show you the beautiful lioness that we are looking at, that's also looking at the elephants. Now, if you've got any questions or comments, please post them on the comment section below. This is live and interactive, so what we're looking at is exactly at what is happening right now. Now, we've got this lioness that seems to have lost her pride. She's making a soft contact call. She wants to know where the rest of her pride is. And unexpectedly, we've had these elephants that have joined the scene. So it's been a bit of a tricky one, because the elephants, they've kept coming and they're coming down the road. It seems it's only 3 of them for now. And they're coming here, but they seem to just carried on feeding. They definitely know that the lioness is here. You can see their ears are perked, and before, when she was making those calls, they stopped and they put up their trunks, and then they were smelling everything around us. So both animals, both species know that the lion knows the elephants are here, and the elephants know that the lioness is here. Now, I think it would be a bit of a different situation if the whole pride was here. Stephen, you're saying hello from Houston. Well, hello from South Africa. It's wonderful to have everyone joining us from different parts of the world to witness a very unusual encounter between lion that we've got here on the right-hand side and then the elephants. And now I cannot see any more lions, and she's been desperately calling for her pride for the last 15 minutes or so. I think, yeah, there she's calling. Just gonna be quiet for about 5 seconds. Maybe she's gonna call again, because it's a very faint noise that she's making. Lions can make obviously much louder calls. They normally roar, but in this case I think she's just holding her ground. She doesn't want to leave that termite mound, but you see now that the elephants are starting to approach a little bit. It's almost like she's, well, besides the fact that she's gone almost to sleep, she's put her shoulders or her head a little bit further down. And if the elephants carry on coming, perhaps she's going to go flat on the termite mound, almost in a submissive behavior to try and avoid them. However, right now, it doesn't seem like she's too worried. The elephants have veered off a little bit and have put a massive line of trees between them and the lioness. So I apologize for the pause. These are for the rain that we've had. Tamara, you're wondering if this is the Nkuhuma pride. I do believe this is one of the females of the Nkuhuma pride, and we had tracks for them this morning, and we've been looking for them for the last 2 days, and only now have we managed to find one of the females. Now you see the elephant seems that it's going to veer off and going to head in a different way. Morali, you're wondering if the cub is nearby. We haven't seen any cubs. We've only seen this lioness, so we're not too sure where the rest of the pride is or where the cubs are being hidden at the moment. I think the elephants are going to try and avoid all sort of confrontation. They have now veered off onto the bushes, into the thickets far away from where the lioness is, and the lioness has held her ground in a very sleepy fashion. I think more because she's asleep than because more than that, she wasn't really trying to be too fierce, and she's just sleeping now. I'm going to stick around with this lioness for the foreseeable future. If you'd like to carry on watching and see what happens next, you're welcome to search Safari Live and subscribe. Right, apologies everyone for all the little gremlins that were attacking us and just pretty much wanted me to keep quiet. Can you guys hear that? I think she's definitely starting to get annoyed now, and she's becoming louder. Now, it's amazing to see just how close those elephants and the lion were, and often it'll happen in, I think perhaps, okay, I'm not going to interrupt if you're calling. Now we're getting more of that. So now it's a fine line. Now we're in between roaring and calling. I think now the patience is waving thin, and I wouldn't blame her. She's been calling now for a while and absolutely no answer from everyone. How very rude of the rest of her family. Now, as I was saying earlier, I think one of the most amazing things is just to witness this interaction constantly. Are you going to roar again? Right, sorry guys, I want to keep quiet as much as I can because the noise that she's making, it's amazing and we don't get to hear it all that often, and I just want everyone to be able to enjoy partly of what the bush is really about. It's just sitting still and hearing everything that's around you and just allowing everything just to play out. Just pretty much admiring. I think I'm pretty besotted by the scene and the beautiful sky that we've got at the back and the spot that she chose where to lie in, and just in general the way that we've seen her behavior change and even her calls in the last little while. She's gone from, very confident that the pride was all around her, calling softly, to getting a little bit sleepy on the termite mound, to now it seems getting a little bit annoyed because nobody's answering. Now, I'm sure the rest of her pride is fine. I just think they might be a little bit further away than what she initially thought. Now we're almost into roaring. Such a powerful sound. Sensor, I think today we hit the roaring jackpot. We really have. It's been very lucky just to have the male roaring in the morning and now her, and just being able to share it with everyone. But just to finish on my last train of thought, if you will allow me, I would appreciate it. Thank you very much. It's amazing how close animals often are to each other, predators to potential prey species, and they just choose to avoid each other. The lioness didn't even move. At one point she seemed she was a little bit sleepy, and then the elephants just decided to veer off and go away from her. Like that lion sleeping fashion with the paw. I don't know if I could even imitate that, like sleeping like this. First lady, you're wondering if the lions ever damaged their vocal cords from roaring so loudly. Well, they could potentially, but what we hear, it's pretty much the sound just reverberating, and their vocal cords are not exactly like ours. They're actually different. They're more of a square shape and protected by a fatty layer, and when they bring the air in, actually their diaphragm is put in such a certain position that it's able to grab, it's almost like more air, and pull further back, and then when the air comes out, it resonates and on that fatty layer on their vocal cords. Because as far as I understand it, our vocal cords are more of a triangular shape, and theirs are more fatty residues on the sides that allows this noise, combined with the ability almost to pull their diaphragm back more than what any of us could. And this is a reason why they're able to roar so loudly without actually damaging their vocal cords or pretty much any parts of them. Now I think maybe we've gone back to sleeping. Frustration has settled in. PT Watcher, you're wondering what would happen if her family doesn't show up. Well, a couple of things could happen. She could become a nomadic lioness. She could stay around this area, but likely her family will come around and will be somewhere around this area. Now, she's part of a big pride of lions. It's about, I think, 13 at the moment, so the chances of her family completely disappearing in this particular area are very slim. So in the meantime, while she's by herself, she's just going to have to fend for herself. So that means hunting by herself, which I'm sure she's more than capable of doing, finding her own water. But also she knows the coalition of males that lives in this area, the Birmingham boys. So they will be able to recognize her and she will be able to recognize them. So as long as she's around and she stays within also the territory of these males, then she's got pretty much no reason to fear, other than perhaps getting a little bit lonely with the lack of sisters and nieces and nephews and all of the other family members. Although it seems like for now she's decided she's mad at all of them and she's just gonna sleep it off. That's the lion way. If you're angry, just sleep it off. She's been so interesting to spend this afternoon with her. And also, I don't understand how cats, lions, and leopards can get themselves into these positions. I can just imagine trying to sleep with my arm sticking out like that, and I'm pretty sure that I would have a dead arm after a while. Now, imagine something that weighs about 180, 200 kilograms, all the weight on one of their shoulders. Quite crazy. Are you waking up? No. Byron is at one of the pans. I wonder which one. Maybe he's got some lion tracks that he can show us. So let's head over to him and find out what he's been seeing.
Well, for the moment, Ellie, I can't see anything, but listen to the sound around me. We have got surround sound of bubbling casinas. Beautiful little frogs. Unfortunately, I don't have a frog app like Tristan does. We can maybe ask him to show you what a bubbling casino looks like later. James, you know what? I've never seen an African bullfrog. I know Tristan saw this morning. He saw one this morning as he was on drive. But I unfortunately have never seen one. I don't know why. And they're out there and you hear them. I just haven't seen them. Viam says he's going to show me where to find them. So we'll have a look. But what a wonderful sound. Keeping quiet a little bit because there's a beautiful sound. Also scanning the trees. I know some of you have asked to see an owl. I haven't seen a little owl or even heard a little owl for quite some time. These bubbling casinas are so loud. And it's so strange. I can't see a single frog anywhere. I'm looking carefully, but they're obviously well hidden in the grass, or possibly just lying in the water and sticking their heads up and calling. Amazing sounds. Alright, let's go up ahead. Just have a look and see what else we can find. Maybe a bullfrog somewhere. That would be great. So I thought I saw a bird fly into this tree. I just want to have a look here quickly. I always try and do a bit of bird. Djuma, do you know what? The frogs don't only call in the early morning or at night. They are more active around that time. However, they do call during the day too, from time to time, depending on if it's nice and cool and if there's a lot of water around. You will hear them calling during the day, but yeah, they get more active round about now. And these bubbling casinos all over. They in front of us there. Sure. Can I tell you, I was confused by a call for some reason. It just confused me completely, and I thought, but I know what bird was calling. It was making a lot of noise. You might have heard it. It was a woodland kingfisher, another call of the woodland kingfisher. It's so funny, at times you overthink things. You're like, what bird is that? It's a different call. I haven't heard it for a while. It's just a woodland kingfisher and the different call that it does. Now it sounds like Ellie has had a amazing sighting of that lioness and elephant. I am quite jealous, but she's still with that lioness. Don't know if she's contact calling anymore. It sounds like she's resting. Let's go and see what she's up to.
She is resting now. I feel like she's given up for the time being, and it's tough being a lion. You've got to sleep a lot just to keep up with your reputation, I suppose. She is looking very sweet, and I must say, throughout this whole sighting, I think the general feeling, or at least the general impression that she's given me, is just sort of a very sweet character that's looking very sadly for the rest of her family. First Lady, you're wondering if... I'm sorry about the use of the word wondering. I'm trying really hard to avoid it, but it doesn't seem like I can. You are asking if the lions get worried like the humans do. Well, I think that they do, just in my experiences, how I've seen them react to certain situations and certain conditions, and they do definitely get apprehensive about things. So you can feel that there is almost an unease and an unsettlement in their character. I don't know if you've ever seen it on one of our shows, but for example, wherein either lions or leopards, when they're thinking or when they're approaching a kill, you can almost, especially with leopards, it's very obvious, you can see their tail that starts flicking, or when they're stressed and they're looking for a cub and the cub doesn't come running, then you can feel that tension that they're feeling. So definitely, I do think that they get worried, perhaps not for the same reasons as what we do, and they may not carry their worry the same way as we do, but I think in their own terms, yes, they do feel worry. Although not like you are too worried now that you're asleep. Maybe earlier when your pride wasn't answering, but I think that was perhaps a mix between worry and anger and frustration. But you're very pretty now, even with the fly on your ear. Looking in such great condition as well. We've always been impressed with the Nkuhuma pride just because they tend to look, so they're like pretty lions. They're like wedding cake lions, always very pretty, in good conditions, always looking stunning, and they're a pleasure to see. Some of the other lions that we get in certain areas, and even, I'm sorry to say this, but if we compare them to the Styx pride, unfortunately, because they've had certain skin conditions and diseases, they're not looking as pretty, but it seems that somehow the Nkuhumas always manage to pull through and look stunning. Now, I'm curious to sometime witness the Torchwood pride. I would like to see them and see what they look compared to the Styx and the Nkuhumas. That would be quite an unusual comparison. It would give us an idea of what pretty much the three main prides of lions or lionesses that we get in this area look like. You are out. Hopefully not for the next few minutes. I am hoping that her calls got someone moving and that it'll come this way. But while we wait for her to either get up, let's head over to Byron, who's at his next waterhole looking for more frogs.
I'm trying to listen to some more. For the moment, it's mainly bubbling casinos. Can Can you hear anything else? It sounds like some painted reed frogs. Very high-pitched sound, beautiful painted reed frogs I can hear. And there are some other little ones calling, which I'm not sure of. Ali and I were both very impressed with Tristan's frog call knowledge this morning. We think he secretly lies in bed at night and plays the frog calls on repeat. There's the other one that very faint. I think that's a tremolo sand frog, if I remember from this morning with Tristan saying that. I can't remember. We're gonna have to ask him just to play some of those again for us. But bubbling casino, definitely the I've had a blank now. Bubbling casino and painted reed frogs, definitely. And there's that other one, that brrr, I think we must just ask Tristan what that is again. Sinak, you asked if there are any frogs that burrow into the ground or into the dirt. Yes, the bullfrogs, a perfect example of one of those. They do burrow in underground. Sometimes they do sleep there until it rains, and then they dig their way out again. First lady, you asked, do all the frogs have the same life cycle? Yes, lay eggs, tadpole, and then eventually frog or toad. So yes, they do have the same life cycle. That woodland kingfisher is calling again to my left. You might be able to hear it. That high-pitched. There we go, the woodland kingfisher. I was so confused earlier. It's so funny how at times you just forget a certain call, but it is a woodland kingfisher. Is that a bullfrog? Let's just listen to some of these calls around us again. I'm going to keep quiet for a short while. That is the sound of a Land Rover that you can, a Land Cruiser that you can hear, and the other guides moving past. With these beautiful frog sounds that we can hear, let's head across to Tristan now, who's got Tingana still up in a tree. And maybe he can shed some light on some of these frog calls for us.
Well, Byron, I would love to shed some light on your frog calls. I just don't know what they sound like. So you'll have to do them for us, and then I'll have to listen to them and see how accurate you are. But I know this morning, if Byron is around Twin Dams, which I think that's where he is, I know that this morning I had ornate frog, I had banded rubber frog, there was tremolo sand frog, there was banded rubber frogs, there was bullfrogs, and you'll probably find that this evening you probably get some golden leaf folding frogs calling, and maybe even the water lily frogs too. So there'll be some of them, and you might even get some common cacos calling as well, and I don't know what else. There might be some others there. We'll go and maybe on the way home have a look, but we'll be with Tingana for a while. So you can see he's kind of moving around in the tree. He's just trying to get himself settled. The male lion in Suku is still taking it very easy now. He's a bit I mean, he's not what Tingana should be in terms of his size. He's definitely a skinnier leopard than what he was a few months ago, and he needs to put a lot more bulk on. But meals like this are going to go a long way into him feeling much better about life. And so hopefully this is going to be the trigger to get him back and kind of rearing to go. But he is a little bit doddery and a bit kind of on the skinnier side of things, which is not how you kind of picture Tingana. Whenever I close my eyes, I always see Tingana as this big, hefty male leopard. And so hopefully, like I say, he'll restore himself back to that former glory in some ways. I mean, obviously he's going to be aging, and his face and everything else is going to show signs of age, but I'm just hoping that he gets himself back into a situation where he just gets in some muscle and gains a bit of condition once again. We know with Mvula went through a rough patch at one point as well, where he got very skinny and then kind of bounced back from that. So hopefully Tingana will be the same. But he's still got that massive dewlap and neck area, so that's one thing he hasn't lost, is his big dewlap. So Joy, you're wondering if we do... Oh, you see, I'm also catching myself, Joy, so I also have to apologize because I also got told off by Rebecca that I say wondering too much. Sorry, Rebecca. And Ali, I know, is talking about it just now, so both Ali and I have it on the brain, and, well, it's the way it goes. Sometimes you'll have to all tell me what new word I can use. But, Joy, you are pondering. How about that, Rebecca? Can I use pondering? Is that better or not? Anyway, Joy was pondering. Now I've forgotten what Joy was pondering. So Rebecca, you're going to have to tell me the question again, and I promise Rebecca is not a nasty human being. She was just telling us that we say it too often, and she's right. We, as presenters, get into these situations where we say words over and over again, so she's totally right in letting us know. There we go. So not on all the autopsies that die. Some of the predators that die will have a situation where we know what happened to them. So let's say like that tailed lioness that is in that died on Londolozi. She died of old age, and by the time they found her carcass, there was really nothing left to do an autopsy on. But if it's something sudden like Salahesh, then yes, they do an autopsy on that, because she just dies. They don't really know the cause of it, and when an animal just kind of keels over and dies for no real obvious reason, an autopsy needs to be done in case there's a disease that's spreading, in case there's some sort of issue that they need to try and sort out. And so that's when we'll get a situation where they do an autopsy. So, the animals that we can find, we must remember that some of the animals we just never see any trace of them. So, there's certain leopards that have disappeared that we've never known what's happened to them or where they've gone. Lemula is a case in point. Lemula just disappeared out of this area, and in all likelihood was killed and probably eaten before anyone even knew where he was. And so that does happen from time to time as well. So, we'll see how it goes. We'll see, if any of our well-known leopards do kind of just, pass away and they're not in any reason that we can see what's wrong with them, then I'm sure an autopsy would be done. Tingana, what are you doing, boy? Are you going to lie down, sit up? What's going on? He's a little bit kind of unsure. I think he just doesn't want to feed at the moment, because feeding is going to attract attention of that male lion. Him moving around in the tree, maybe not so much, but as soon as he goes towards the carcass and tries to even eat, he's going to have a problem, because that male lion's going to hear the crunching of the bones, and it's going to make him a lot more interested. And so I think Tingana's just kind of hoping that Nsuku grows tired of this whole situation and just gets up and walks off it, and especially if there's a lioness contact calling, that might call a little louder and Nsuku might hear it and go and investigate. I think that's what Tingana's banking on. He's obviously a very experienced campaigner, has probably dealt with lions a lot more than we even realize, and that's maybe why he's just sitting and waiting to see what happens. Now you will notice a light that is on Tingana, so for those of you that are not used to lights being on him, the other game drive vehicles unfortunately don't have the capability to switch their eyes into infrared, and therefore they can't just kind of see the leopard when it gets dark. They don't have the abilities that we do to be able to put infrared lights on and film, so they do use spotlights to be able to show what goes on at night. You'll see that most of the time though, the light, the main source of the light, will hit the chest of the animal or just around the feet, and then the rim and periphery light highlights the face, and that allows everyone to kind of see what's going on. So they purposely will not shine into the eyes of unobtrusive as possible. So don't stress about the light. It is something that is used out here all the time, and I've spoken to a vet about this, funnily enough, and asked them about lights in animals' eyes, and they say that with the cats there is actually no effect on them. Their eye is able to deal with it, and while shining directly in is going to certainly be uncomfortable for them and they're going to close their eyes, the actual light and the ambience of that light is not affecting their vision going once you leave. It's not like one of the antelopes that if you shine into their eyes, the antelopes can have an effect where they can't see very well after you have shined the light. The cats, for some reason, which I don't understand, he did give me a whole bunch of technical jargon, that their eye apparently responds much better to light and can react much quicker to changes in light. So apparently it's all okay, and that's why it is still done. But like I say, you'll see that it's not going to be directly in his eyes, which is always a good thing. It's amazing, though, that we've come from that system. We used to use lights, and obviously we've tried to get more and more ethical, and therefore we're using the infrared stuff. Now, Patty, he might relieve himself from the tree. I have seen many leopards do it, especially if there's something that's stopping them coming down. He might have a situation where he'll be able to sneak down and come and relieve himself out of the way of the lion. But any sort of noise of thudding onto the ground is going to bring in Suku to come and investigate. So probably fine, he'll just relieve himself up in the tree. Hopefully he doesn't decide to defecate from up there, because that will be a bit of a mess, that's for sure. And we don't want to be under a marula tree that is already dropping marulas. We're taking a risk being under the tree itself, because there's marulas hitting the ground at rapid rates around us, and then flying poo would also not be ideal either. So I think we'll hopefully give him a wide berth, and if he does urinate or defecate, that we're not in the firing line. I think that's going to be a wise plan, and one that we should adhere to. Now it looks like he's going to go in and feed. Let's see. Tingana, are you going to try and feed? No, he's just going to position himself. He's edging. Wouldn't be surprised we start to see him sort of salivating at the thought and prospect of trying to have a little nibble while that male lion is still kind of snoozing. Nsuku looks as though he's fast asleep. I can't see him nicely, but he's on the airstrip and having a little bit of a nap. Right. Now, while he kind of contemplates what his next move is, whether or not he's going to go to another branch or have a little feed, let's send you back across to Ali, who I believe's Lioness is off the mound and is starting to move.
Well, we all thought that she was going to, because she stretched and she got up all of a sudden, but then just as quickly as she got up, then she went back down on the termite mound. I think you're just playing with her feelings now. But her calls have become louder and louder as it's getting darker, and I think her patience as well as ours is running thin. We're all wondering where they are. Come on, guys. Now she... Okay. She carries on roaring this loud, then I'm sure the male lions are going to be able to pick up where she is. Perhaps Nsuku will be able to find out and get in this direction and probably try and join up for her. I have a feeling, though, that the rest of her pride is not as close as she thinks they are, and I think they're a little bit further into Buffelshoek. Now, this afternoon... Are you going to carry on? I don't want to interrupt you, okay? Okay, lady. So this afternoon, as we were driving in this direction just to go and try and follow up on Tundi, we came across tracks for that big herd of buffalo once more, and they were in the central part of Djuma, close to Gauri Dam. I'm not too sure if maybe they made an appearance by the dam camp, and then they carried on going north and east, at least from what I could see. So I wouldn't be surprised if the rest of them are actually on the trail of the buffalo, as they've been the last few days. And perhaps, well, who knows, she got distracted doing other things, split up during the rain, and that's why she's by herself. Hampers, you're wondering if some animals track their prey by their footprints. Well, I don't think so, no. I think they will hunt them and they will follow their footprints, because all the animals will leave a scent behind, and I think they go more by scent than by actually seeing the footprints. I don't think they'll be able to recognize if it's the footprint of a buffalo or a zebra, but they will definitely be able to recognize their smell. Now we're talking. It's been an interesting comparison because in the morning we had a male lion roaring and now we have her. And obviously in the morning the male lion was sounding a lot louder, but this is still not as loud as she can go. And it's still pretty loud. So I think as the night carries on and if she doesn't manage to find her pride, then we're going to be able to hear her calling a lot louder than what she is now. Sorry, Rebecca, can you just repeat the question once more? Katerina, she might be more vulnerable during the night if she's by herself, if she tries to hunt something bigger or if perhaps other unexpected lions come into the area. Just because one lion is more vulnerable just on itself than without the rest of her pride. But I don't think she will get particularly scared. I think more than now she's just annoyed. We're just gonna swap into infrared. So if you see the screen going into a bit of a different color, it's just because we're turning on our special lights that allow us to see better into the dark. Would probably allow us to follow you better into the dark, should you decide to leave the termite mound. Nope. Are Lara Moore? Yes, the lions can recognize individual voices, individual lion calling, for sure. They are, and hyenas do it as well. And I think to some extent leopards do it as well. When the one's calling, they will know exactly which pride member is calling because they all have different voices. Now, it seems a bit odd for us, but if you think about it, when you're talking to someone, everybody's got a very specific voice, and you're able to recognize people by their voice. It's pretty much exactly the same with the lions and the hyenas, which are the ones that tend to call the most, or at least live in clans where knowing who's calling comes in beneficial. And you see she's also raising her head. She's sniffing. She's sniffing. Right, seems like another one of our sleepy cats, Tingana, is contemplating on moving. So let's see, will the leopard come down off the tree and start moving before the lion?
Well, I don't think our leopard's going to come down from the tree. It looks as though he's going to pass out on his front legs and have a snooze again. He's got his little tongue out, and he's doing his best Hukamuri impression at this stage with his tongue hanging out like that. And he's almost kind of, like I say, he's got his legs draped over either side of the branch. It doesn't look as though he's going absolutely anywhere. It's almost like he's fallen asleep standing up. So, Tingana, why don't you get yourself more comfortable? If he just slid back slightly, he would be in a situation where he could actually just flop down and sit and watch from where he is. But at the moment, he's just kind of taking it very easy and sitting and almost just hoping that he'll stay standing while falling asleep by the looks of things. Now, Fergus, do you think we should move a little bit? I think maybe we should move. Maybe we can get at least his face in our shot rather than his bum. Although his hips look better. Just can you zoom in a bit on his hips there, Fergus, just for me? I just want to see how the muscle sort of situation is on his hips. A little skinny, a bit of a protrusion of his hips, but otherwise looking not too bad. I mean, it's better than I think what it was a few weeks ago, or a few days ago, should I say. Right. Well, I'm going to move, and I'm going to see... Oh, wait, hang on. Tingana's moving. I just wanted to see where he goes, but I'll reposition so we can see his face. And while I do that, let's send you across to Byron, who's on the prowl for night crawlers.
Don't worry. Yeah, I'm trying my best. I'm looking for chameleons, actually. I haven't seen a chameleon for a while. And I'm trying to see if I can find one. But, and also owls. I really want to see an owl. But, no, son, I haven't heard one yet. Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Something slightly off topic, which might be, some of you might find a little funny, but this morning I had to sing a song in the tent. James asked me to sing a song. It was terrible night crawler about the earthworms, and I just want to show you something over here. So just have a look at the top of the phone is James Henry's name. There we go. And then at the bottom, if you read that message over there, it says, "You are the greatest singer in the world." Thank you very much, James. I have got the proof. It is in writing on my phone. So thank you, James. James has finally admitted it. I knew he loved my singing. I always knew it. I just think that he is clearly very lonely at the moment in the Mara, and has probably spent too much time in the bush by himself. So perhaps he has lost it. That's the only oh wait, look out, a scorpion in the bark of the tree. Look at that. Can you see the pincers? I hope it doesn't move. Look at that. Now this is one of those tree creeping scorpion, Epistocanthus asper, that I think that gymnogene or African harrier hawk caught earlier. Isn't that wonderful? Now that is not something you see every day. Nice to find it. Now there's a little bug very close to the hole. If it moves any closer, I'm sure that scorpion would try and grab with its pincers. Oh, they just moved back in. I'm not going to bother the scorpion. Let's see if we switch off the light. Oh, there we go. Maybe that'll help with the infrared. And you can still see. Let me roll forward slightly. Sorry, VM. There, look at that. Beautiful view of the scorpion. And you can see, as I was saying, those very powerful pincers ready and waiting at the entrance of that little hole in the tree. So any insect that crawls in front, the scorpion has got tiny hairs on the body, and they're very sensitive. They can pick up the vibrations. They'll launch out very quick, capture the insect with the pincers, and then often use the sting it quickly, and then feed. But these scorpions rely a lot on the power of the pincers to catch their prey. Wonderful. I love seeing these little creatures. We set out in search of interesting little creatures today, and I think we did pretty well. An interesting sighting with that African harrier hawk feeding on the scorpion in the tree, and we still got a bit of time, maybe a last minute chameleon. Maybe somebody finds one. Okay, now these scorpions would often feed on alates, and I was speaking about it this morning. Those flying termites, and Ellie is apparently having a lot of them around her at the moment with the lioness.
Right, well, she's definitely not moving. I don't know if this is her willing the pride to come to her, or being too lazy to carry on looking for them, or just making a statement now. It's quite an odd situation that we've witnessed today. I think you might have actually lost your pride. As had anyone replied, I reckon she would have gotten up and carried on moving, and just walked in that general direction. So perhaps if Nsuku does manage to steal the rest of the kill, or just decides to abandon Tingana, which also would be wonderful, as Tingana probably needs a bit of calm and rest and peace. Maybe they would try and join up sometime during the night. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually, or if he hears her from all the way down there, if he comes up here to investigate as to who's calling, or perhaps comes to say hello. Unless he's the reason why she got lost, and then maybe she won't forgive him. We can make our own little story and soap opera. Must be a very comfortable termite mound too, because she has not moved from that particular spot. You can also start hearing some of the night sounds besides the lion roaring. Seems like there are a few frogs around us. Some bubbling casinas, some painted reed frogs in the distance. Everything happening now. Or nothing. It seems like far in the distance, well, not too far, but there are some elephants around. Are you gonna call now? You want to chase the elephants away? Now, the elephants are not too far, probably about the same distance as the other herd was in, but because everything is pitch black around us, we can't really see them. So I think we're just going to focus on her, because our main interest is to see where she's going to go from here. If she goes south, likely she's going to be able to join with one of the Birmingham boys, although that would be quite far of your territory. You would be invading the sticks. Not too sure that's what you should do. Jamie, I don't think hyenas will try to kill her when she's alone. They won't actively go after her and start hunting her and try to just get her out of the way and kill her. What could happen is if she bumps into more than one hyena, the hyena, well, there could be some aggression, but as we saw with the elephants earlier on, I think that likely if there's no food involved whatsoever in the equation, they will go their separate ways and try to avoid each other as much as possible. Normally when we have those conflicts between lions and hyenas and you see them fighting pretty much to the death, there are either little ones involved, in which case either the hyenas or the lions will protect their cubs, or there's some sort of meal that's in between. Either something that a lioness killed and the hyenas want to steal, or the other way around. Seems like both cats are in very similar positions, half standing, half asleep. So let's head over to Tingana and find out how he's keeping his balance.
Now, he is keeping his balance. He's still in the exact same spot. I don't think he can decide what he actually really wants to do. Nsuku has not lifted his head in the entire time we've been here. He's still absolutely fast asleep and taking it very easy. So he's obviously got the same syndrome that Ali's lion has got on the mound. So her mound is comfortable, and apparently so is an airstrip if you're a lion. And Tingana, well, the tree looks about as comfortable as is possible. So he's kind of drifting off slowly into a slumber, and I wonder if maybe he's going to try and get a little bit of that food at some point. But it is that time, unfortunately, where we need to start heading home. There's also another couple vehicles that do want to get in. We kind of snuck back in between everybody just so that we could be here for the end of our evening, which is hopefully going to be a delightful sort of thing for all of you, and that you've enjoyed this afternoon. It seems to be a little bit of everything. There's been crazy stuff with the scorpion and the African harrier hawk. Obviously the lions and the leopards have also stolen the show. So from everybody, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I hope that we will see you all tomorrow morning on the Sunrise Safari.